Hey guys, how you guys doing? Today I'm going to talk about a very important topic, the gap, how to understand you have gone beyond mind, beyond labeling, and being in here and now. Now this is a pretty important topic to understand the gap. Okay. Now when you are in a watchful state where you can look into your body, you can distance, which means that you can distance yourself from your body, which means that you are not your body. You can distance yourself from the mind, you're not your mind. You can distance yourself from your own thoughts, right? Now your awareness, you're aware of all these things. So you can only be aware when there's a gap, when you can watch your own thoughts. So there needs to be a space, there needs to be a gap. Like the way I see you, there's this watchfulness. Like I need to label everything. I'm calling it as watchfulness, or the eye witness inside, which kind of observes all these things, right? Now the important factor I want to say here is the gap, the space can be only for a minute second, or the gap can be only for I mean, if you're enlightened, like if you can enhance the gap for a minute, then you can easily see things that you have gone beyond labeling, you have gone beyond mind, because your gap has increased, right? Now the thing is, the people who have experienced this gap, or people who have arrived in this gap, right? The mind can trick you. The mind will say, I am the one who is creating this gap. I am the one who's telling, I am the one creating a thought, there's a gap. And it's like the mind's game is to fool you, and it can fool everyone. It's hard for me to explain this topic unless you experience deep awareness within you. You cannot differentiate the gap, you cannot differentiate your thoughts, you cannot differentiate the body, which is separate, your mind, which is separate. You cannot distinguish all these things unless and until you have cracked that gap within your own system. Now I have tried to explain these things to even people who have a further level of intelligence to understand this. Even from them, right, I always understand they are imagining everything is created from your mind. Everything, even the gap, everything is from the mind. How it cannot be from the mind? Everything that you produce is from the mind. The gap, the thoughts, whatever I'm speaking, everything is through the mind. And that's what they believe until you experience the gap, and until you experience the awareness. You cannot differentiate your thoughts, you cannot differentiate the gap. Now the gap is some people wouldn't even touch this gap, so they think everything is through the mind. And I cannot explain this to everyone because I understand them, they haven't experienced the gap. And if you haven't experienced the gap, what I'm speaking, the space between your thoughts and the observer, that there's a space. If you haven't cracked the space, if you haven't arrived into that space, you would think everything is generated from your mind, because that's how it seems, right? Everything seems to be generated from your mind, and even my own mind will trick me into that. So let's say I experience the gap, right? The thing is that my mind is immediately trying to understand. Hey, it would immediately say, hey, I am the one who created the thought of this gap, and you are thinking about that gap. That's the thought. That's not the gap. Now the mind is producing a label saying, or identification saying, a gap. that's been produced by me. Okay? The thing is, you need to understand you are being programmed. You need to come out of this programming. The only way that you can come out of this programming is going into a zero state, an empty state. Now, the empty state can be for a second or a minute second. Now, you need to increase that gap more and more so that it clicks that the mind is tricking you again. It's see, the mind's thing is always take you to the prison of labeling, prison of identification, making you think that everything is through the mind. Because once there's a labeling, or once there, now the thing is, you need to experience this gap. Once the mind labels this as gap, you would, like, some people would think, I'm producing this gap because, like, the thing is, the mind is creating that gap. You would think that. But the thing is, the real experience comes once you enter into this gap for a minute second, and then you realize there is this turn from the mind where it's trying to speak to you that, hey, I have produced this gap. I'm the start. But the thing is, like, it's hard for you to enter into this gap. And even it's hard for me. But the thing is, like, I have entered into this gap many more times. I'm like, I entered into this gap lots and lots of time. But for me to realize that my mind is tricking me in a second, and it's labeling the things at it as it wants to, and it's creating this illusion of I'm producing everything, because it doesn't want you to know that you are detached from the mind and thoughts. It doesn't want you to know that. So once you enter into the gap, it immediately starts to pull you into its labeling or identification. See, this is a pretty important topic. If you get it, next time when you're meditating, so I have eaten a little bit, but let me go into my meditation mode so that you understand. So when you go into this meditation mode, right, when you are in this awareness, you can sense your energies. At the same time, your mind is also speaking, hey, you can sense these energies. That thought is gone. Now, next thought, it's something about my friend. The next thought is something about my surroundings. Okay, now there is a gap. There's a gap that I have produced, right? Now I have expanded my gap, so it's easy for me to understand. So now, as I enter into this gap, it's hard for me to speak. You see, I have to produce certain type of energy from my mind to speak. See, as I enter this gap, it's, see, because I have to initiate my eye, I have to initiate my mind to speak. So I have deepened my gap. Now I'm speaking. See, I'm speaking. Now my mind is in control as I speak. But at the same time, there is this gap too, which is coming and going, which is coming and going. So I can get into deeper awareness, but I have to be a little bit more silent. I haven't got into a state Maybe I am there. See, I'm speaking. There is nothing that my mind is producing. See, that's the gap. See, now when I say that's the gap, that's my mind labeling it. But there's a pure silence. That's when, this is again all labeling. That's when you're gone. See, when you're in silence, that's the moment you entered, you touched your pure awareness. Hopefully, you get it. See, I was speaking like as I enter, I can enter into my awareness, but I have to be a little bit more silent. Now, as I'm speaking, that's my mind. It's not, but it takes me a certain, I can get into awareness pretty easily because I've done a lot of work in meditation. So I know the gap, I can enter into this awareness. But as of now, my mind is speaking. Sorry. Hopefully, you understood the gap. Everything is not your mind. The mind is a prison. You have to break free of that prison. It's not that easy. You gotta get into this gap. The more wider your gap, the more awareness, the more now. Hopefully this video helps you. See? it will be hard for you to speak when you enter into this gap. That's one more realization or one more way to understand you have entered the gap. Hopefully this video helps you. Thank you and have a blessed day. See, again, my mind. That's my mind. You see? This is my avatar. This is my style. Like, this is all through the mind. I've captured it from someone, and see all the style and everything. I got it from someone. I'm in the United States, so probably I caught it from some of the things that I see in the movies or something, right? That's I can imitate that because I'm being copying. I have different avatars within me, but once you enter into this gap, I don't want to enter into this gap right as of now because, I cannot talk. Hopefully this video helps you. Thank you and have a blessed day.